Welcome. Tonight is Thursday. It is July 27th, and the year is 2023. We are still more than a year out from the presidential and congressional elections of 2024. However, Super Tuesday for our presidential elections, actually for Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia will be in early March. So 2024 is on its way. In 2023, Virginia, we just had our primary elections in June, and we are getting ready for the November elections when we elect our entire General Assembly, all 40 seats in the Senate, all 100 seats in the House. So I know New York, a number of other states may be having municipal elections. So now is the perfect time to really start organizing within our communities and reaching out to the people that we just naturally know. So tonight, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Noelle D'Amico from the Worker Circle. The Worker Circle is a very progressive Jewish organization dedicated to social justice. And when I say they are dedicated, these are the kind of friends that you can imagine in the 60s were out there on the front lines. They would have been getting arrested with Dr. King. The Worker Circle has worked very hard on putting together a concept that they call democracy circles. And tonight, they will be explaining to us and giving us information on how we can create democracy circles in our own communities with the people that we already know. So, Noelle, thank you so much for being here and with your whole team. And I am always thrilled when the team are young people because they will be able to sustain the movement. So, Noelle, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It is an absolute joy to be back with the Center for Common Ground. We are stalwart partners because in all that the Center for Common Ground does, you empower every single person to be an agent of democracy. There's no spectator sport here. It's about plugging in, doing your part, and bringing more people to the work. And the impact is undeniable. And it is so good to be on a call with people who are thinking right now, how can we enlarge the power and impact at the grassroots at this critical time in our nation's history? So tonight, I'm the Director of Social Justice, but our presenters tonight will be Noah Barron, who is our social justice organizer, and Maya, who is one of our college organizers. The Worker Circle itself, as Andrea already said, is a Jewish social justice organization. And we came from Eastern Europe. The founders of the Worker Circle at the turn of the century, 20th century that is, came from Eastern Europe, fleeing autocracy and persecutions. And they came to the United States because of democratic freedoms here and their desire to build a better and more beautiful world for all. So part of that building a better and more beautiful world for all is our work together with the Center for Common Ground. So like you, we're phone banking, we're text banking, we're postcarding. And tonight we're delighted to share a model called Democracy Circles. Let me turn it over without further ado to Noah and Maya. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Noah Barron, and I'm the social justice organizer at the Worker Circle. and it's great to be here with you all tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Strong, and I'm a college organizer at the Worker Circle, and thank you so much for having us.
So we want to start with a question in the chat. So we ask that you answer in the chat, and then we'll look at some of the answers. So let's get the screen sharing up so you can read the question. So when it comes to taking action, are you more likely to get going and learn more while you act, or do you want to learn about an issue and then take action? What kind of activist are you? Are you someone who wants to learn first or who wants to do first? I'm seeing a do first from Beth. Learn first. Okay, I'm seeing a mix. It seems like there's about 50-50 responses, give or take. But keep putting your responses in the chat. I appreciate seeing everyone letting us know how you like to take action and what way you like to engage.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Continue putting your responses in the chat. So democracy circles are circles, and it doesn't matter where you start. You can build power and community by starting with action or learning together.
So what is a democracy circle? I want to make sure the slides are working. Can we, yeah, is it presenting? I'm not able to see it. I just want to make sure that's up because I think it's an important visual. Sorry about that, y'all. Technical difficulties. It's the Zoom world we live in. Yeah, it is a little bit often. I don't know what's going on. I think it's frozen.
Yeah, it looks frozen, Noelle.
Okay. OAC, let me stop the share and I'll restart. Sorry,
Thanks.
friends.
No worries.
All good.
Thanks everyone for holding with us. I just want to make sure you can see we beautiful pictures of our activists in motion. Awesome. Yeah, now I can see it.
Now you can see it. Okay, great. And here we go. Now it's not flipping into present mode. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get out and do another way. I've got it on backup. Bear with me.
Yeah, no worries.
No, what would you say, or like what type of activist do you think you are? Do you like to learn first or take action?
I think I like to do first. I learn by doing, and then I like to learn by reading and reflecting. What about you?
I think I like to take action first too.
But the other people are also valid. You're also
Exactly.
I can start describing what a democracy circle is, and then y'all will see our colorful visuals in a moment, I'm sure. And as I said it's like magic. So a democracy circle is a small group of people who join together regularly to demand the democracy we need, a truly multiracial, multicultural democracy that represents all of us. Each democracy circle is initiated by a circle convener who picks a meeting time and place and brings together people they know in person or on Zoom to take action and to explore how we can counter attacks on our democracy right now. We provide all the resources and training. You bring your passion and your people.
So democracy circles build grassroots power by gathering and equipping the people that you're already connected with. Democracy circles are an adaptable model that can take the form you need and meet in the way that makes sense to you. Around a kitchen table, in a church basement, after a protest, on a Zoom, or in a coffee shop. Democracy circles are an entry point for people who want to do something about the loss of our rights and the erosion of our democracy.
And the idea for democracy circles grew out of the real needs of the people in our activist community. In January 2022, a group of Worker Circle members, myself included, engaged in nonviolent civil disobedience in Washington, D.C. And on the train back from that protest, a few of our college network students, Noelle and I, were having a discussion, and we were wondering, what would it take for more people to engage in meaningful, strategic action on an ongoing basis? And so it was Murley, who was an NYU student at the time, who brought up the point that activism can often feel really lonely and overwhelming. People want to feel like they have a community, like they know that when they act, they are doing so in a way that is really, truly impactful. and thus the idea for democracy circles was born. Democracy circles are a way to keep people connected, build community, and act together.
All right, so we have another question for you all, so feel free to answer in the chat. When working for change, is it easier for you to get started or to sustain the work? So just drop those answers in the chat. Okay, a little mix, sustain and get started. A little bit more balanced than the first question. Alrighty, yeah. So yeah, just keep putting your responses in the chat and we'll continue. So the good thing about democracy circles is that they tackle both. They help you get started and provide an ongoing structure, resources, and support to help your circle continue and connect to others. So as we're talking about democracy circles, I'm sure you all have the question, why are democracy circles important? So they give you support and they show you step by step on how you can create change together. They serve as a guide during this time of rising fascism in our country, while also providing a space to deepen your understanding about voting rights and democracy.
There are two main elements of a democracy circle, action and reflection. So going back to that first question we asked, there's many ways to engage. Action, democracy circles take action in all kinds of ways. Some circles postcard or join weekly phone banking with us with the Center for Common Ground. Others recruit friends and neighbors to become nonpartisan poll monitors or join direct actions and make legislative visits. We provide a take action guide with a variety of actions that you can take. And then there's reflection. We also provide discussion resources to help you and your democracy circle reflect and think together about the state of our nation. Some of the discussion resources are articles you can read together. Some are videos you can watch. Some are poetry you can discuss, and some encourage you to share your own stories. We really want to level the playing field with democracy circles. Some people have gathered groups for years, while others have never put together a gathering. But don't worry, there's no prior experience necessary to start a democracy circle, because we provide you with a getting started guide, an outreach tips guide, take action resources, and discussion resources, and we provide support all along the way.
So with the Getting Started guide, we will let you know what a democracy circle convener does to start and sustain the circle. Some suggestions for how to organize the time at your gathering and information about how to reach out to us, and we'll support you every step of the way. And with the outreach tips guide, you can get help on getting people to join your circle. Perhaps you're a longtime postcarder with the Center for Common Ground, but you've been postcarding alone and you're not quite sure how to reach out to others. Our Getting Started guide and outreach tips helps you connect with others in your community online or in person. And we know that it often takes many attempts to gather people, even when they're interested. And so we have some advice on when and how to persist.
So given that, let's really think together for a moment about outreach. Many of us actually gather with people every day. And so let us take some time to think about who you could invite to your democracy circle, or what established group you're a part of that might also become a democracy circle. So in the chat, I want you to take a moment and think, and then in the chat, drop the name of at least one person or a group that you can invite. They could be your basketball team. They could be alumni from your high school or your college. They could be members of your family. They could be your walking buddies or friends from your senior center or other people. And when you're ready, drop their first name or the name of the group that you're thinking of into the chat. Invite people you know from the dog park, book group. I love these ideas. Neighbors, definitely. These are great ways to start a democracy circle. Keep dropping those in the chat. A synagogue, totally. People who live in your apartment building, that's awesome. So yeah, thanks y'all for answering our question, and keep putting them in the chat, because we're gonna keep examining and thinking about how we can get folks together to take action. And so then in addition to our Getting Started guide and our outreach tips guide, we also provide this Take Action for Democracy resource that gives you specific actions that you can take to help fight for democracy. And lastly, we give you discussion resources that you can use to help guide your conversations. So say you're part of a Center for Common Ground Democracy Center, which already has plans for action and education. Our discussion resources could be your small group element during an established program, or you could use them to help build continuity and community in between larger events. And when you when you sign up to convene a circle, I will set up a time to talk with you by phone and walk you through everything. You and I will think together about what your circle can look like, and I'll hear your ideas and your hopes for what your circle can do.
So what we've found is that people want to take action with others in ways that are strategic, but they also want to learn. Many of us were not taught civics in school, or we were taught civics in a way that makes us objects rather than agents of democracy. If you stop someone on the street and ask them, what's the filibuster? If you're lucky, Noel said that someone older than me might remember the old Frank Capra movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington with Jimmy Stewart, and say, hey, isn't that when a lawmaker keeps talking and doesn't sit down for a noble cause? They likely won't know the long racist history of the filibuster or how it blocked the freedom to vote, John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act from the last year. So we have an article on the filibuster with a set of discussion questions. We provide resources from trusted orgs like the Brennan Center and journalists like Ari Berman, incredible media orgs that are short enough to read together and provide a framework for understanding why the heck in 2023, we are still fighting to make sure Black voters can access the ballot.
So these resources and discussion questions provide deeper context for dedicated postcarders and phone bankers or door knockers who are already in motion together, from Virginia Beach to Monroe, North Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia. They draw people in who won't act unless they have a better sense of what's going on before they start text banking or taking action. And these resources are also living examples that can be used if you're preaching a sermon or leading a Bible study. And these resources also work on college campuses where students are anxious to connect the loss of voting rights with the loss of abortion rights and other issues. So our resources can help people connect the dots.
So speaking of our resources, we have almost 24 for you to explore, and we are constantly updating them and adding more. Each resource comes with a set of questions to help you guide your discussions. The resources are sorted by category: how democracy works now, timely articles on legislation, court decisions, political strategy, and public debates, historical, arts and culture, and your stories. For example, our resources include a poem by Nikki Giovanni, an examination of the latest Brennan Center Voting Laws Roundup, an article that explains how federal courts work, and questions that invite you to share how your own cultural background inspires you in this fight for voting rights and democracy.
So what could a democracy circle gathering actually look like? Democracy circles are very flexible and adaptable, and I'm going to share with you 3 models for what a democracy circle could look like from our real circles that are in action across the country. You can also create your own model. You don't have to stick with one of these models. So the first model is the congregational model. Nancy's Justice Committee at her synagogue wanted to get more involved in fighting for our democracy. They gathered 11 people on Zoom, and together they read an article about how the anti-abortion movement eroded our democracy. Then they discussed the article using the questions we provided. Her Justice Committee was already writing postcards with the Center for Common Ground. Our Democracy Circle model provided context and background information, allowing them to deepen their understanding about the issues you care about. So if you're organizing faith leaders to in turn get their congregants to participate in phone banking or postcarding, democracy circles give you a ready-to-go structure that you can give to these leaders so they can organize circles in their congregation. And while Nancy's Justice Committee used it to jumpstart their congregation-wide programming and action, you can use it to catalyze small groups in homes or in your congregation. By the way, this model also works for unions, inside senior centers, and for other organizations that gather regularly and have a constituency.
So our next model is the kitchen table model. Susan and Barry gathered 2 friends from their area before the Georgia runoff. Together, as a democracy circle, they wrote over 200 postcards to Georgia voters with the Center for Common Ground and the Worker Circle. And forming a democracy circle helped them create a safe and welcoming discussion space while they wrote postcards.
And our final model is the Into the Streets model. So Diana invited 5 people in her democracy circle to protest in her area in Northern California. Afterwards, they all met together for coffee to share stories and reflect. And these are just examples. You'll develop your own models because democracy circles are designed to be adaptable.
So being that I'm from Georgia and I currently go to New York University, last year around the time of the Senate runoff in Georgia, I remember feeling so helpless in New York and wanting to do more than just submit my absentee ballot. So with the help of the Center for the Common Ground and the Worker Circle, my circle and I came together to send postcards to Georgia voters, encouraging them to vote in their upcoming election and providing them with info on where they could do so. And coincidentally, we sent those postcards to the county right next to mine. So I felt so empowered using my circle and the Democracy Circle resources to help and educate my community.
One of our Democracy Circle conveners from California puts it like this. Democracy circles allow us to share our ideas and feelings with other activists, be heard and hear others, get and give support, and have agency, not feel as helpless as we might in the face of rising fascism in this country. So if you're interested in starting a democracy circle, you can learn more and sign up at the link we're going to drop in the chat right now, or you can email me directly at nbarron@circle.org, which we will also drop in the chat.
So while those resources are being dropped in the chat, let's open it up to a Q&A session. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat.
And I saw some earlier, so I'll scroll up and answer your questions. And I think we can probably stop screen sharing and we can just chat. So are we able to identify if there's a democracy circle working in a particular community? I believe now we have 22, possibly 23. I have to check our tracker. Democracy circles across the country. So those are in a variety of states, variety of settings. So yeah, there are definitely democracy circles that are working. Some of them we quoted here, like arts. Other ones are, all over the country, really spread out and each working in their own individual way to fight fascism and demand democracy. Let's keep looking at other questions in the chat. I'm going to keep scrolling up and see if I missed any.
I might have a question for the audience. After seeing this presentation, do you think you all might be interested in starting a democracy circle? And if you're maybe on the edge, is there something that's holding you back that maybe we could talk about more? And if you plan on starting a democracy circle or you have ideas in your head, can you also share those in the chat? I'd love to see kind of what people are taking from this presentation.
Our Bend the Arc chapter might already be a democracy circle. Yeah, I like the idea of guided discussions. We have one democracy circle, I believe it's in Virginia, and he said that he's already been writing postcards with him and his in-laws, is what he's been doing it with, his brother and sister-in-law. And they've been doing it for years, but he always finds it a little difficult every year to get them to do it again. So he likes our resources because they help him kind of learn how to get people in and writing postcards with him. And they also provide these discussion resources. So they're already writing the postcards. They do that all the time, but we give them articles and videos and ways to kind of further engage that he didn't have already. His name is Stephen in the Virginia area, Northern Virginia. I'm going to keep reading these answers. Sorry, there's many.
Looks like a lot of them turn into questions.
Yeah. Are there examples of other things we can be doing? That's a really good question. So on our Take Action page, which we'll provide for anyone who signs up, and also if you're just interested, I can just send it to y'all. The Take Action page, we have like what I call a menu of options. So it's things from postcarding and phone banking, right? With the Center for Common Ground, which are wonderful. And we have many, many folks engaged in that. But we also have things like writing a letter for the editor, right? Because we know that politicians read their local newspapers, they read the college newspapers in their area, and they absolutely want to know what their constituents think, and they're listening. It's also things like making legislative visits with your local elected officials or your federal elected officials. Yeah, so we have a bunch of different options on there, and they're also being constantly updated. So, for example, the Freedom to Vote Act was reintroduced, what was it, last week, the week before? So we'll have to take actions around that. We're kind of constantly updating them depending on what's going on politically at the moment, but there are things that democracy circles are doing beyond voter registration and postcarding. Yeah, it's a good question how your topics will work for your congregation. I think I don't know your name. It says League of Women Voters in Rochester. So we have a congregation, a Nancy's congregation. It's actually Nancy and her co-partner's name, who also runs a circle with her, is also named Nancy. So the Nancy and Nancy Circle. They are a conservative congregation, and I believe they're in California. I could be wrong. And they use these resources to have discussions. All our resources are 501c3 friendly, which means we're not endorsing candidates, which is very friendly for congregations and very helpful for them. Maya, do you have any of these questions you want to answer? I know I'm kind of dominating the conversation right now.
No, it's okay. Let me still continue to look through the questions.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I saw one above, which was asking if there are already existing democracy circles, is it possible for people to join?
Yeah, so that depends very much on the specific circle. So for example, there's one in, I believe, central New Jersey. They're looking for more folks. It depends on where you're located, right? We have 22 around the country, but they're also very location specific, some of them. So it's going to depend really on your situation. Feel free to email me. We can see if we can figure something out. But we also encourage you to start your own, right? Because we all have people in our community, our neighbors, people in our congregations, people at the grocery store who we talk to every week, like people who are maybe interested in engaging with us in this way.
When it comes to circle sizes, we usually say upwards of 7 to 10 people, but I mean, that's just a suggestion. We're just worried that like you wouldn't just be able to maybe meet up as much if you're having such a large circle. But if you feel comfortable with 15 to 20, I would say go for it, but just know it can always be broken down. You know, you could always like split the group in half or anything.
Yeah, the reason we say 7 to 10 is it's kind of easier to have one discussion with 7 to 10 people. That being said, the Nancy Circle in California has, I think, 17 people right now. But Susan and Barry Circle in New Jersey has, I think, 4 right now. So it's a range of sizes depending on kind of you and your community. I'm just gonna, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go back to the top of the question so I'm not missing any. Josie, if you also want to call them out, that's helpful.
Yeah, I saw one, which is how long have democracy circles been in existence?
Yeah, so this idea has been in development really since that protest that I spoke about. That was January 2022, and it's kind of been in process. And we've had circles started since September of last year is when the kind of first few circles formed, and we've kind of escalated and had more and more since then.
And then there is one more. There are 2 that are kind of similar. One, which is asking, so many of us like to work on so many issues. How do we incorporate a democracy circle within that wide range of people's concerns? And then to that end, another person said that some of us are interested in how democracy is faring states in the South, such as Texas. And I was wondering if focusing on a state would help us understand the problems that voters face.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, the problems voters face are different based on location. And also our resources really do dig into kind of all the issues people care about. So we have resources on abortion rights and the way that connects to democracy. I believe we have one on climate, or one's in process, because we're constantly also updating our resources and adding new ones pretty much every month, if not more often than that, every other week kind of thing. And as to how like specific states, I think you also have the option with your democracy circle of working on legislation or issues within your state. So you'd work with me to kind of figure out what that looks like. Yeah, so we've had, for example, I think I think it was Ohio, they met with their elected officials on a piece of legislation. So it really depends on your state and what's going on in your state. But it's right that a lot of these democracy issues are hyper local, and we also have to be engaged in democracy all the way down to the municipal level, all the way up to the federal level, right?
And I'll put Noah's email in the chat again, because they'll really be able to help you. What they have for you all is kind of just a starting point to get started, but you can get as specific as you need to, and Noah will be there to help you along the way. So they're very customizable, sort of, which is one of their benefits. All right, there's a lot of other questions, comments that I'm also working through. Looks like Silene from our Brunswick County Democracy Center is signed up, so that's really exciting. Go, Silene. Could you talk more about the role of the convener?
So a democracy circle convener is someone who basically gathers the 7 to 10 or the 6 to 9 other people that are going to be in the group. They're the ones who establish like a meeting time for everyone. They're the ones who I mean, they could be the ones who chooses what resource you all are gonna look at that week, what action y'all are gonna take together. They're really the person that kind of brings the whole group together. But of course, the convener can be like can handle the entire democracy circle, or they can take a more stepped back role. It just depends on the actual circle. But we do provide a lot of resources for the convener on how to get started, how to find people, how to like lead a group discussion or anything. Yeah, so I would say that would be the main, yeah, exactly. Noel just said in the chat, some democracy circles have co-conveners as well. Like Noah just mentioned the circle that we have where Nancy and Nancy, they're both conveners. So you can take you can be as involved or like, I guess, uninvolved as you want as a convener.
There's one question that might be something that could be used as a potential topic for Democracy Center, but do we see close partisan primaries as a problem for democracy? So I don't know if that's something that you can answer if you want, but that might be a great question, for example, to discuss in a democracy circle.
Yeah, I don't know if I can specifically answer that, but I think that is a great question to bring in. And the other thing we want to add is you can bring in questions like that or other questions you have about like, what do we want our country to look like, and what should it look like, and what is wrong with it right now? What's wrong with our democracy? These are big questions that I think a lot of us are chewing on and are good to bring to other folks to chat on and discuss and chew on. Sorry, a couple folks have DM'd me and I'm just trying to respond and get their emails. Go ahead, Maya, please.
All right, so I see a question. Can you give an example of issues the group may study and who provides the background or research for that issue? So the issues, like Noah stated earlier, we have like a variety. We have like abortion, like just going on with that. We also do a lot of voting rights, racial justice, workers' rights, and also kind of like just specific cultural questions related to you and your group. And as far as the background and research for that, we do get a lot of our resources from the Brennan Center and just like, just scholarly articles and news sources and whatnot. We do provide like links to all of our sources. We do have them cited and everything in case you want to look at the original source. But yes, we do have a variety of resources and topics for you to choose from.
And if there's something you're super interested in, let's say, I don't know, you're super interested in, climate justice or something, along those lines, you can email me and we will develop a resource and we can work with you. If you have an article you're super interested in bringing to your circle, you can bring that to your circle. I think it's a pretty flexible model where you can kind of discuss things that are of interest to you. Yeah, as Noelle said, our resources are the jumping off points, but they don't have to be the whole story. So you can bring other things if you have a song you really like, or things from your own cultural or historical background. Maybe a story from your childhood about the first time you saw someone go and vote, or things like that. Those are things we encourage you to share too. Are there other questions that popped out at you, either Maya or Josie? There's so many, I'm reading through them still.
I see one that says, will you try to measure the productivity of democracy circles? Let me see. Okay. Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, like while we are helping a lot with the process, it is really just up to you to make sure that you are, or to decide like how often you're meeting, what take actions are you doing. We're not like, I don't know, going to email you and just say, oh, we realize you didn't take action. You can no longer run a democracy circle. Like, that's not what we're doing at all. It is fully up to you to do what you and your group feel comfortable doing. But I mean, even just meeting together and talking about these things, that's a huge accomplishment. That's something that a lot of people don't do. So even that's perfectly fine. I hope I answered your question.
We ask that democracy circles meet regularly, but some people that's every other week. Some people that's once a month. Some circles that's 4 times a year. Really, it's going to depend on the circle. And we're not, as Maya said, we're not being punitive about it. This is an invitation to engage more and learn more and take more action. But it's not like we're gonna, yell at you if you don't do it enough. We're just encouraging that we all, do as much as we can to fight for our democracy. Awesome, Janice. I love seeing that Norfolk and Virginia Beach Democracy Centers are signed up. That makes me excited to hear. Yeah, there are democracy circles in a bunch of states. I should have counted before this and didn't, but we have 22 circles across the country and they're in, I would say, at least 20 states situation. So yeah, they're definitely anywhere in the country is open to making one.
And I just want to say, I will be sharing Noah's contact information in a follow-up email, the link to learn more about democracy circles, as well as a recording. So for those folks that have asked, those resources will be provided in a follow-up.
And we encourage you to explore that website link because it has a bunch of FAQs and different things and stories from a few different real conveners. And
any other questions from folks? Comments?
all right, well, you all have my email, I hope. I hope you saved it in your notes app or write it in pencil or somewhere, so you all have it. And we'll give the link again in the chat, and you'll also get it in a follow-up email. Have you seen centers getting involved in municipal issues? We've seen centers getting involved in like local protests and things that are not just around federal issues. I don't know, Noelle, do you know if centers involved in municipal issues specifically? It doesn't mean they can't be. I'm not sure one has been yet, but Noelle might know better on that one than I do.
Our New Jersey Democracy Circle was involved in different efforts to assist on legislation concerning immigrant rights there. and they worked in their locality. They paired that up with direct service to the immigrant community. So it was kind of, it put people in motion in a different way in their community. That's the other thing I want to say. Sometimes, you know, we think we have to do something big, but really the sum of all of the actions that we contribute to creating this better world really matters. And sometimes for people, that's the first step into something even bigger. So we've had a little bit of action on the local level, and we also hope, as the democracy circles grow across the country, to start linking them up together. And we'll be keeping you apprised also of state-based campaigns. We work at the state level, and that's other resources that we can make available to you when you start one.
And I want to also let folks know, and I will share the link for this in the follow-up email, but on August 17th, I believe we will be doing another one of these presentations. So if hopefully some of you are in the process of building a democracy circle and you have some additional questions, if you have friends that you think might be interested in this, please invite them to that event. We really hope to see more folks getting involved in this great campaign.
Any last questions or thoughts in the chat? I think we do have one in North Carolina. Laura, give me an email and I'll check and we can connect around that. All right. I think with that, I'm gonna say thank you all so much for having us here. I really appreciate the opportunity to present about this, and I hope you all start a democracy circle.
Thank you all so much. Andrea, do you have any last words? Anything
Well,
you'd like to say?
I noticed two questions literally at the end. One of the questions was, are there any democracy circles in Maryland? And the other question was, is there a plan to engage SCOTUS when they reconvene?
If there's one in Maryland, I honestly don't remember. There might be, and I just shoot me an email and you and I will connect around that. Absolutely. Because if there's not, we can make one together. I hope so. And we are also in a coalition. I believe it's called United for Democracy. Is that right, Noelle, about the courts coalition?
That's right. And we are absolutely talking about the impact of the federal courts and the Supreme Court on our democracy right now, both the decisions that are being made and the manner in which those decisions are being made. So you're going to see more and more democracy resources on this. We also have some backgrounders around how the courts work, because, you know, if you're like me, you know, school was a while ago, and frankly, I never really learned that process. But this is designed to help equip somebody who knows a little bit about the courts, certainly knows the courts affect our lives, allows us to learn the process so that we can be better advocates. So more resources on that front are coming. And I'll be interested to see what Center for Common Ground folks decide to do when the court reconvenes. They're certainly taking up cases, and it is definitely a bit of trepidation with which they're taking up a number of these cases. So we'll see what happens.
Another interesting thing is going to be our Alabama Democracy Center leaders here will be what happens now when the court told the state of Alabama to draw a second majority minority district, and the state of Alabama said, no, we don't think we want to. And they drew a district that was, I believe, he told me 39.6 majority. Well, a majority district, according to what the court wanted, would have been at least 50 plus 1%. That would have been the bottom. 39%. What is that? So we are now seeing this push me, pull you, who is in charge? Is it the Supreme Court can override the states, or is it the states can simply ignore the courts? So let me thank everybody for joining us tonight. People have brought up some very, very, very good points. In another life, when I spent 10 years on the Hill, I worked on DC statehood. I worked on the Equal Rights Amendment. I worked on climate. Of course, I worked on voting rights. I worked on Medicare for all, and I worked on affordable housing. There are many, many, many issues in America that impact millions and millions of people. And until we all get together, stand up and push, nothing's going to change. So voting is really great. But again, we do need to be out in the street. And at the same time, we've got to be working up in the suites. So thank you all so much. And you've given me a lot of ideas to go back and look at a lot of the material that we developed between 2009 and 2019. None of those issues has been solved. And as most of us know, we are not moving forward and truly making progress on very many issues. We are sliding backwards very, very fast. And it is going to take a lot of us digging our heels in to make it stop. So we're going to have those conversations with people who say they are concerned and disturbed. Well, they're going to need to take it to the next level. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We did record this. This will be on our YouTube channel for those who may want to replay it, or maybe there was a friend or potentially someone that you would like to join your democracy circle who wasn't able to join us tonight. So Noel, Noah, Maya, thank you all so very, very much for all the information you shared on democracy circles. It's pretty darn wonderful.
Thank you, Andrea. And thank you, everybody, to see all the energy in the chat and to know that you're out there doing the hard work every single day. It is such a joy to be shoulder to shoulder with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.